Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Soul Flow Conversations. This is your host, Dedrick, the Cookie Man, and my co-host, who will be up shortly, Miss Jessica Fields. And thank you guys. I know this is a little weird, and I'm in the dark, I'm in the car, and whatnot. And we took a small 2 week hiatus for some other purposes. Life has been happening. So I want to say welcome back to Soul Flow Conversations. And I'll be back in some good light in a little bit. But in the meantime, in between time, the topic for tonight is regarding freedom of speech. Is there such a thing, really? So we really going to touch bases on the freedom of speech topic and stuff like that because this has a whole lot of different layers that we can unpeel and a lot of things that we can unpack. So I really want to have a conversation about that because there's a lot of implications when you start talking about freedom of speech, and we'll get into a whole lot of this and everything. And as you guys know, of the recent happenings involving the Mr. CK. You guys know who that is, and and the unaliving of him and whatnot. Because it's a lot of that. Oh, that's all I can say. But when we're talking about freedom of speech, we got to be very careful about what we're saying because it has a lot of implications when you start talking about freedom of speech and different things like that. Because freedom of speech does not mean freedom of com- consequences. You understand? So just because you can say something doesn't mean that you necessarily should. And that's the way I've always thought about that subject. Is just because you can say something, it doesn't mean you need to say it. There's a lot of people they don't think that what their words they just think it's just words, and a lot of times it is just words. But you also have to understand, depending on who you are, those words carry weight, and a lot of people follow things based off of the person who's delivering it. I know you guys have heard of the saying, "Don't shoot the messenger." Well, guess what? Messengers have been being shot a whole lot. So you just have to gauge what is appropriate for you to say, and and stuff like that. That's not to say that you still can't say what you mean to say. Sometimes you just have to be a little bit more creative saying it. I just don't believe in censorship to the point to where you got to watch and walk on eggshells about everything that you mean to say. Because here's the thing: there are times where you have to say what you have to say to get your point across. And some people will not get it unless it's delivered the way it's delivered. Now we can go all the way back to Kevin Samuel. Now a lot of people, it's mainly women, didn't like his delivery. Now uh, uh, my pushback to them talking about how rude and how disrespectful he's being out of his mouth is my pushback is what he's saying true? Is what he's saying true? Because I don't care how much you want someone to tiptoe around your grown feelings. Ultimately, is what he's saying true? Because a lot of what he said was spot on. It was true. And a lot of women went to, well, his tone and he's saying this way. First of all, it doesn't matter. The truth don't care nothing about your feelings. And that's something you got to really realize and understand. The truth does not care anything about your feelings. And the quicker you understand that, the better you grasp the message that's being delivered. Because a lot of people would say, well, Steve Harvey got no business telling somebody anything about relationships. Well, yes and no. Because you have to understand, sometimes people make mistakes in their lives and they learn from them. So therefore they can deliver a message that could help the next person. not make the same mistakes they made. So you have to put it in its proper perspective because everything isn't equal to everything else. You have to understand that. Just because someone did a thing, that doesn't mean that they can't speak on it. That's just like some people saying, well, single people can't speak on tell married women nothing. Well, first of all, marriage consists of two individuals, a woman and a man. If a single man peeps out behavioral patterns that is not conducive of making sure a woman is cared for and loved correctly, that single man can absolutely speak on the fact that what that married man is wrong, and that he shouldn't be doing that inside of a marriage. He can definitely speak on that. So to say that just because a person is has a different status or has or isn't haven't been married or has been multiple time divorced, they can't speak on marriage. Of course they can. What have they learned? Because if their life is currently uh, depicting positive measures to not make the same mistakes that they've made before, guess what? They can actually speak on that because now they know what they did wrong, they know why they did it wrong, and they know not to do it wrong again. So they can speak on those things. So when you're talking about freedom of speech, you have to be very, very careful the thin line that you're walking on because now you're borderline talking about censorship. You're borderline talking about censorship. I think we got somebody coming to the stage. All right, we got Maurice. Let me go ahead and get him on here.
What are you
All right,
doing? What are you
what's
doing?
going on, Maurice? How you doing, man?
Doing all right. Were you on a road trip?
Yeah, I ain't on a road trip. I'm on my way back home. I had some business.
Oh,
I had some business to handle. So,
Lord.
um, yeah, so I had to hurry and get back to the house where I got good lighting, and so so that's what I'm doing. I'm in the car. This time I wanted to make sure I started the show on time, and stuff like that. So I'm like, ain't no car gonna hold me down. Ain't nobody gonna slow me down. No, no, I'm sorry. But anyway, but yeah, so I just so the yeah, the show is about freedom of speech. I was just kind of giving my little soliloquy about how tricky that is, how a slippery slope that is, and whatnot. But yeah, so that's what I was just not talking about. Freedom of speech, and I was giving some examples and stuff like that. I said, and one thing that I said was freedom of speech does not come with freedom of consequence. Just because you can say something doesn't necessarily mean that you should. And a lot of people miss that note a lot of the times because I'm grown. I can say what I want to say. Okay, cool, no problem. But just understand consequences come with what you just said, and a lot of people don't understand that, or nor do they take it seriously sometimes, and whatnot. So that's basically what I was just opening up with, and whatnot, and I also preface that freedom of speech comes with many layers. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things to unpack when you're talking about freedom of speech, and stuff like that. So that's where I'm at right now. And feel free to go on ahead and chime in. Now, what I'm gonna do, I just arrived home, so you go ahead and talk a little bit about what you think about freedom.
You want me to tap dance? You
Oh
want me to
no,
tap?
don't tap dance. Don't tap dance. Go ahead and go ahead and say what you gotta say. You know what I'm saying? Because when you talking, you don't be tap dancing. You go ahead and say what you gonna say, right?
Yeah, I don't do monologues, man. I don't know how people be talking to cameras with
Right, right.
yeah,
Well, no.
I'll do
Well,
my
well,
best, but no
well,
promises.
well, well, look at it this way. Look at it this way. I just asked you, what do you think about freedom of speech? Just go ahead and talk. Just let me and you talk it. So you
All
good.
right,
I'm
all right.
I'm just gonna turn my camera off, and I'll be listening. I'm right here. I just don't want all that movement in the camera. So, but I'm right here.
Yeah, no, freedom of speech. It's what do you call it? It's the foundation of America. It's the First Amendment. Well, I mean the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights. Um, it's where everything is grounded from. It's what everything is started from, because I think the idea was that with freedom of speech, it allowed you to have freedom of thought, right? So as you think, you can so speak. First thing is for somebody to have a good idea, a good thought, a positive thing to say, and they're afraid to say it. And with them being afraid to say it, they cause all types of mayhem that could have easily been prevented. But obviously, it's a double-edged sword because you people out here don't know what the hell they're doing with their mouth, so they just come out here and they say whatever, however, whenever, and as they do that, it muddies the water.
Yeah.
It gets the water muddy. But it's the risk because that 1% that you're trying to get, that's gold. You're like gold is found in a dirty ass mine. But gold is valuable, very, very valuable, and you gotta dig a lot. You gotta dig through a lot of dirt to get to it because it's that valuable, and people need to start seeing freedom of speech that way because we forgot. We as a people, as Americans, forgot what it means for the importance of freedom of speech. And because we forgot, we've become a whole lot less responsible with the reality of it. The first threat that I personally remember was, what was it? Was it 2016? 2017? It was like 2017, 2018. You know what? I think it was actually during COVID. Anyway, somewhere in that time, 2018 and COVID, there was these people were getting really good with the cameras and they were videotaping everything. And then they were videotaping some of these white people, saying stuff that may or may not have been racist, right? Like some of the stuff was on the line, some of the stuff was blatant, whatever. But then after that, you had some people that was like internet sleuths, find out where they worked, started making sure they got fired for saying, "Oh, man, that junk was."
I think you're referring to the cancel culture.
Yes, indeed. That is what they named it afterwards. Indeed. But that junk was what I remember speaking to a friend of mine. I was like, I don't like this. I mean, I get it, whatever. This guy is saying something that you don't like, and I can see why you don't like what he's saying. But do you really want people to start losing their jobs? Like me, I'm of the clan that if you're a racist, I want you to be free to speak your mind. So that way I know what color of a person I'm dealing with.
Absolutely. Yep.
I don't want you hiding. This is one of the reasons why I actually moved from Boston to Texas. Because if you want to find covert racists, go to Boston. They love black people out there. In the meantime, they're doing all types of shady stuff behind your back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't deal with that. There was, you start gaslighting yourself. Like you're trying to figure out why stuff ain't happening the way it's supposed to be happening. Why can't you do this? Why can't you get that? And you're thinking, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to. What's going on?
Right.
It took me a while to figure out. Oh shoot! I moved down to Texas. It's been 5 years. My salary has tripled. And they said this place is racist. Right? They said if you want to find racists, go to Texas. That's what they told me. Right? I'm not saying there's no racists here, but I can tell you with signs. They tell you, hey, don't come over here at this time. I got no problem. Cool, no problem. But now I know where to move. I know who to move with. I know which direction to go. I mean, so I didn't want racists to go in hiding. But this is what this movement was doing. That was the first instance, and then they started doing just the whole COVID stuff, right?
Yeah.
Couldn't say lick. People started trying to. That's when people started like changing the way they said stuff online. They couldn't say, people were like the vid. They couldn't say shot. You had to say the jab.
Right.
The language started changing because people are going to believe what they're going to believe, and they're going to speak about what they want to speak about. And you're gonna change every language in the English language, so that people don't speak about. It was ridiculous.
It still is. It still is.
Yeah. And then so that was all happening, right? And then we moved to the present here with the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing. And me, I was like, because I had a hard time with that, but in the same sense, I did understand why a company might not want an employee to continue to represent them. It makes sense from a business owner perspective. The issue is it's a fine line. It's a fine line. Like, where are you going to stand? Where are you going to? Because if you're always going to appease the mob, because that's what it is, right? The mob comes and they said, this person, we don't like them because of whatever accusation you want to run against them. There's the racist, there's the homophobic, there's the transphobe, there's the misogynist, right? They come at you with all these accusations. And if a business says, you know what, I don't want to deal with the mob, that is indeed their prerogative. What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah. So that is their prerogative. Again, personally, I don't like it. But that it is. When it comes to this Jimmy Kimmel thing now, Jimmy Kimmel, in my perspective, was losing his company a lot of money. They just weren't making that much money like they used to. They weren't getting the views, this, that, and the other. So they probably should have fired him a long time ago based off of just metrics. But then I started coming out for Jimmy Kimmel later on because I realized how much the FCC was involved in actually getting him, pushing him to get fired. As far as the comment, I don't give a damn. I do care that he's being intentionally silenced. So that's the short history of free speech and cancellations that I remember. But yeah, Miss Field, I'm gonna step in. I'm gonna step in for Mr. Dedrick, the Cookie Man here. So the conversation is about free speech, as I'm sure you are aware. But the question is, what does free speech mean to you? And in light of all the current events and even past events.
Well, what I've been saying since everything has pretty much happened is that you have the freedom of speech, but you don't have the freedom of consequences from what you say.
Traditional woman, but it's not all free emotions.
That's exactly what I said at the beginning.
Yep.
So I look at it like I made a comparison to something that happened at my job, for an example. I was up for district manager for a promotion, and I had posted something. It wasn't anything ridiculous. It was just something like, I'm tired of going to work, like a meme. It wasn't even like my words. It was something I shared.
Mm-hmm.
And my district manager reached out to me and said, because yes, I had my district manager as a friend on my Facebook, and luckily she was reaching out to me in a helpful way. And she said, I would really remove that one because with your promotion coming up, I know that they look at social media. And I'm not saying that it's your chances, but it can hurt your chances.
Absolutely.
Because they may take it the wrong way.
Of course.
And so I did, and I still got the promotion or whatever. But that just goes to show that even the smallest thing that you can freedom of speech, but they post on social media or what you may say. So people have to be careful about what they say on social media and huge platforms, especially in this cancel culture era that we're in. Now, I've never watched Jimmy Kimmel a day in my life. I couldn't tell. Nope, never one day in my life. I don't think it was right for him to say what he said, but I also don't think that it was right for him to try to cancel him for what he said, because that is freedom of speech. But I heard that the ratings were really down and that he wasn't really being watched as it was. So I'm almost thinking that they wanted to take this opportunity to use that to get rid of him, not necessarily as an attack on freedom of speech. I could be wrong. Like I said, I never watched the guy a day in my life. But I heard his ratings were down and that he wasn't very funny, and they had probably been looking for a way to rid themselves of him.
Probably.
No different than I don't feel that Charlie Kirk should have taken a bullet to the neck for his freedom of speech. No different than Malcolm X, Martin Luther, or anybody else who stands up and says what they feel, their opinion, their values, whatever. I don't think anybody should suffer over the opinions, but at the same time, it can happen. So I guess people just got to learn how to read the room and know when to say what, I guess.
Yeah, and that goes to the consequences side of things. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, just because you can say something doesn't mean you necessarily should. And a lot of people miss that note. They miss that because a lot of people they'll go to the, oh, I'm grown, I can say okay. Being grown also means you need to have some common sense.
No, you gotta start that off. You gotta start that off with true.
Yeah,
but
being grown also, and being grown also means that you got to read the room. Like that. There's a time and a place for everything. And stuff like that. And I don't think a lot of people understand that concept. They just think that just because they got a mouth, they get to move it anytime that they want without consequences. No, consequences come with that. You can say whatever you want to say, but you're gonna have to deal with the consequences. Now again, and one of the examples that I had used as well was how people were saying, okay, well, when they were talking about Kevin Samuel when he was alive and stuff like that, they were talking about Steve Harvey, different things like that. Well, you have to understand something. All of those men have the freedom to say what they want to say on their platform. Period. If you don't like Steve Harvey's opinion, don't buy his book. Don't tune into what it is he's got to say. Don't watch his show. So why would you watch his show or buy his books and then criticize him for saying what he's saying? Same thing with Kevin Samuel. If you don't like what Kevin Samuel has to say, don't call into his show. You already know what he's going to do, but you're going to call into his show, and now, guess what? You just got embarrassed on a national platform.
And so, paid him for it.
Right, that's your fault. And like Jessica just said, just because I don't like your opinion, I don't like your personality, that doesn't mean you go out and you freaking shoot somebody in the neck. That's not what you do. I don't personally like Charlie Kirk. I thought his little debates and stuff were interesting. That's about it. Now, some people go, oh, well, you gonna kiss Charlie Kirk's butt? First of all, what part of me saying that he didn't deserve that did you get me now kissing his behind? Just because I'm saying that, just like with the orange guy, the Agent Orange, like, first of all, there's certain things that he says that are right, but again, there's a lot of things that he says that I really just can't rock with. But at the same time, again, you don't take somebody's life because you disagree with their freaking opinion. Like, what's wrong with you? Are you that much of an emotional toddler that you can't take somebody disagreeing with you?
Well, that's what I was gonna say about that. Like, welcome. Like, you gotta introduce these people to what is called adulthood, and like people don't always agree. I mean, it's probably one of the reasons why we have so many issues in our marriages too. Like, there's this assumption that we must agree in order to be able to get along.
Everything, right.
That's not reality. You know, people got different opinions. Trust me, if you agree about everything, then someone ain't speaking their mind.
Right.
Yeah.
One of y'all is not speaking your full mind. So that yeah, whoever you involved with is not that person. It's some type of shell of that person that they're deciding to keep. They're trying to keep the real person away from you.
Well, that's one thing. That's one thing.
Steve Jobs said a quote, and he said, "If I have a partner that agrees with me on everything, one of us is not necessary."
And I was going to add to that, like, you know, I actually follow Charlie Kirk. So I'm going to be the unpopular one today. I don't mind.
No.
I actually follow Charlie Kirk. And just like with anybody else, kind of like what Dedrick said, you're never going to agree 100% with everything that everybody says. But he made a lot of very good points. And I don't think that he was a bad person. I don't think he was a racist. And he definitely didn't deserve what happened to him, but neither here nor there. The one thing that he did say, and I'm only bringing it up because you brought up marriages and partners. He said, when people stop talking, that's when bad things happen.
Yep.
And the next thing that he says, if you stop communicating in a marriage, that's when you get divorced.
Yep.
And that was something that he was spot on about, because when you stop having the conversations that need to be had, and like you said, if you're not being honest with me about how you feel, or, you know, whatever it is, then somebody's not telling the truth. And that even causes further problems. You know, when we stop communicating with one another, whether it's a friendship, whether it's your children, whether it's your marriage, whether it's political, whether it doesn't even really matter what it is. But when you stop actually communicating with people and being able to listen to different perspectives, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to fold and agree with the person's perspective just because they're talking to you. No, it means that I heard this person's perspective. Okay, I still have my opinion, and that person did not change my mind, but I can at least appreciate that we had this conversation, because now I can see a different perspective and where they come from.
Miss Fields, me and you need to run a class on how to disagree and get along. We just need to open up a whole class on how to disagree and get along.
You're right.
I mean, you know, disagree at the end of it. It's not the end. We don't like this part. All right, cool. We don't like this part. Maybe we can come up with better arguments later. Maybe not. Maybe, but then there's other things we can definitely agree on. I mean, just people are a lot more interesting when they say their mind. Mm-hmm. When you start stifling people, that's not an interesting individual.
Mm-hmm. I mean, me and you disagree a lot.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we always, at the very least, we come to an agreement that we disagree.
I don't think you're evil. That's where it comes down to. Because you don't see what I see, I don't automatically think that you're evil.
Right.
It's crazy. That's why when you get these other people that you even say the slightest thing that's off the narrative, off script. Now, like you say the craziest thing, like, you know, I really don't think that's a woman. Like I don't want to offend. Like, you could be like the best. You know, you're really trying to be nice and charitable to the whole situation, but you're like, you know, I really don't think that's a woman. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you're evil. It's not. You know, this guy has a different opinion, or this guy is confused, or this guy maybe doesn't understand some stuff. Maybe I could educate it. No. You're evil. And because I remember the first time I actually dealt with a girl in a class once, and I said something about Zionists, and I was like, I didn't like the whole Zionist thing. You know, they just rolled up on people in 1950 or whatever and said, "This is our land now." I didn't like that concept. It was pretty screwed up. You know, if anybody ever did that in your house, you'd be pretty pissed about it. You know, I get that. You know, and she was like, "Don't say anything bad about Israel." And ever since that, yo, every time I walked into that class, she gave me a look. She gave me a sneer. I never understood the protection around Israel or Jews. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what the history was. I mean, obviously we learned about the Holocaust, but obviously there's all this, you know, the roadmap of anti-Semitism. I didn't understand none of that when I said my comment. But yet I got grouped in with a full-blown Jew-hating anti-Semite because I didn't like the concept of Zionism. Just, you know, they try to demonize people out here for having a thought.
Well, I mean, that's just like I shared a meme earlier, and it pretty much basically just said, I saw a post that I didn't agree with. I didn't feel the need to comment. I didn't feel the need to change somebody's mind. I didn't like it, but I just kept on scrolling. I still like that person, and I just moved on with life. You know, we're all different people, and we all come from different cultures, religion, race, background. I mean, it is what it is. And so, like, I don't know. I just know. I guess I'm tired. Like in the Green Mile, I'm tired, boss. I'm tired. Because I think it's getting way out of hand, where, you know, people can't voice their opinion. You have people that you can't wear a MAGA hat, right? Hats. And this is not sticking up for MAGA or anything. Let me be very clear. This is not a political thing. I've seen people say, like, I assume that if you wear a T-shirt with an American flag that you're a racist. And I'm like, well, but I'm American, and if I want to wear a T-shirt with an American flag on it, then, you know, I should be able to do that. But like, we've gotten to a point politically, the temperature is too high, and that kind of takes away from the free speech, because even though you are not voicing something, you know, from your mouth, just being able to wear a hat, being able to have, I don't know, even if you, let's say you're a Biden person or a Kamala person, you know, and you have a sticker on your car, do you have to worry about your car getting vandalized or broken into? No different than the red.
Yeah,
you know,
because
the
you
red
represent
side.
hate. You automatically represent hate because you disagree with me.
Right. And I don't have to speak it. But just wearing the hat or wearing a shirt or having a sticker on my car, which I don't do any of that because of those reasons. Because I know, like, well, if I put that on there, then somebody, hell, they might say, she's a Giants fan. I'm going to key her car. You know what I mean? Like, we're really getting to that temperature where, as long as, you know, if you don't agree or if you're not a part of a social construct that people agree with, that they automatically demonize you and toss you to the side and try to possibly even harm you. And I think
it's dehumanizing.
Let me say this, because now, and when you said, okay, well, I didn't believe Charlie Kirk was a racist and all this other stuff, let me explain something to you. Nobody who's not a racist is going to call an Asian person a chink or call someone a disparaging word. I'm sorry, but that's not going to come out of your mouth.
When did he do that?
There's a video where he got belligerent. He was on stage and he literally shouted at this Asian guy and called him a chink.
No, he didn't. I can debunk that right now.
How can you
Maurice,
debunk
you
it?
in front of your...
I'm in front of
video. So how are you going to debunk that?
The guy that he was talking to, his name is Chink.
Oh, Cenk. Oh, yeah, Cenk from the Young Turks.
From the Turks. That's who he was debating with, and he called by his name.
Cenk,
he did not disparage him by race.
Cenk is Turkish.
Yeah,
that's his name. Yeah, that's how you pronounce his name.
That's because That because I was just like, what is he doing? Like, why would you
No,
do that on stage?
Yeah, that's
Why would so
no,
so
that's
yeah,
literally his name.
yeah.
I was really pissed off about that. I'm like, why
Well,
would how could you do that?
yeah, that's why I think context is a bitch.
Like I said, I just addressed it, but
No, I
when
know,
he
but
when he
you
told me
addressed something outside of context. That's why I was like,
what
context will
well,
color the
my thing
whole picture in for you. And
is that when I saw the video and the whole debate situation that was going on, there was an Asian guy in the crowd. So I thought that's who he was directing it to. So since Jessica gave me the context, okay, I'm good with that. I stand corrected, and I ain't got nothing else to say about that particular part of it. Because
yeah,
for me, if you're not racist, there's certain things ain't coming out your mouth. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So
yeah, of
so
course, of
so I'm
course.
glad she corrected me on that because that kind of had me
Yeah,
stuck because
no, no, it had a
no,
bad taste in your mouth, as it
oh,
should, as it
that's
should.
not
Yeah,
so yeah,
And he should, but I wanted, you know me, I'm always going to come, at least if I know, I'm going to tell you. And if that
mm,
was the case, I'd feel the same way that you did. Because when I
right,
first saw it, I was like, wait a minute, who he talking to? And then when I researched it, I was like, oh, he's talking to Tank. And I was like, oh, it
okay,
makes sense now. That's actually his
yeah,
name.
okay, well that makes all the
yeah.
sense.
I mean, I'm telling you, the internet's a very dangerous place because you got bad actors out here,
Hmm.
and they know what they're doing. They
Yeah,
know the way they're presenting it. They probably put that clip of that Chinese person in there.
well, no, that guy was at the same debate, but
Oh,
what I'm
okay,
saying is the way I guess is the way it was edited. It
yeah,
made it look he was directing that to that guy.
exactly,
So
exactly.
that's what threw me off. So I was just like, what in the world is he trying to? What are you doing? Do you not know that's like almost like career suicide? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, listen, these like I said, these are bad actors out here. They know what they're doing. They're spinning it intentionally to make him look worth. It's like as much as I know you are anti-Trump guy. But you can't say that they didn't do everything in their power. I mean, Trump did enough to make himself look bad. Don't get me twisted. But they did everything in their power to make this guy look worse. And it's pretty malicious tactic, you know.
And
It's probably one of the reasons too he got elected because everybody's like, "Yo, why they after him like that?"
mhm. I was going to say,
Uh
because everybody thinks that I'm a right person and love Trump. I couldn't stand Trump for his first president. Oh God, I couldn't stand. I lost, like, people unfriended me and blocked me as much shit as I talked about Trump. It
huh.
wasn't until afterwards, until I started doing some research, when I would see, I'd be like, so for example, there'll be a headline that said Trump said Liz Cheney should be put in front of a firing squad. And I'll be like, oh shit, let me go see what he done did now. And then
Mhm.
I'll go and I'll research and I'll watch the whole interview, like from beginning to end, because I don't want to miss nothing. And then I find out, I'm like, oh, he didn't say Liz Cheney should be put in front of a firing squad. He said that maybe if she had pointed at her, then she wouldn't quick to send our daughters to from her call. And I'm like, oh, okay, well now that makes more sense. So kind of like what Maurice was saying, the internet is a dangerous place because what they do is they clip things here and there, maybe fuse them together to make you believe that somebody is saying something just to fit their than what they're trying to. Doesn't mean it is, but the one thing I do stand for is truth. What we're not gonna do is we're not gonna lie. Now, if
That's
he said it, he said it. But
that's
if he
exactly
did,
what
I just want to be like, nah, that's not what he said.
you're breaking up a lot, Miss Fields.
Let me leave and come back.
Okay.
Yeah. I can agree that what I like to do is I like to find out what the truth is and stuff like that because like I just showed you, If somebody proves me wrong, I have no problem. I have no problem saying, you know what, I was wrong, or I saw that the wrong way, or whatever the case is. Um, that's the way I've always been.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with that whole, I remember that video that came out about the
Mm-hmm.
whole Cheng thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember seeing it, but like because I've seen so many videos of Charlie Clerk already, yeah, I was like, it don't fit. It just doesn't fit who I've seen him as. So because of that incongruence, it pushed me to that point where I'm going to go look into it and see what the heck is going on.
Right. That makes sense.
Right. But if you don't know him from a glue stick in the wall, why not? That's what they said. All right. You know, the only reason you even know about the guy is because he got shot. You don't even know what the big deal is and why everybody talking about him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Because sometimes you be forgetting there's a whole corner of the world where people don't know these people. You know, they're big time in one area, but in another area, nobody knows who they are. You know?
Right.
Only Michael Jackson was like that.
That's true. Yeah. Because because like for me, I the biggest thing is I found the debate entertaining, because especially when they were talking about the trans thing and the woman
Yeah.
and man. Now those I found absolutely hilarious, because when you give somebody common sense over their delusion, oh, it's a problem now. And the thing was, he was just handing them common sense over delusion, and so that those when it came to those type of debates, those are the ones I enjoyed the most, because I'm just like, yo, you're sitting there getting upset, but you can't sit here and define what a woman is. Are you serious right now? He's asking you a direct question, and you're beating around the bush, talking about it's someone who identifies as, it's someone who feels like. You're not answering the question. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's what was entertaining to me. When it came to some of those debates, when it came to that, those are the ones I enjoyed the most, because
Yeah.
like you can't sit there and tell a logical person that what you feel Trump. I can't even use Trump no more. You can't tell a logical person that common sense and biology are wrong. How are you gonna do that?
That's why I can't stand that phrase common sense. It's not that I don't understand it. It's just, every single person was raised and taught in a different environment. I don't know if you remember the first time you had to go like stay the night over at somebody else's house that wasn't your house. And you're looking at this place like, this place looks like a different planet to me. I remember I always had the habit in my house that I shower every morning.
Right.
I don't shower at night. I shower in the morning. That's how I did in my house. That's what we did. Then I had to spend the night at somebody's house. They were babysitting me or whatever. And these people were trying to make me shower at night. It threw me off. Because for me, common sense was you shower in the morning. Why are you making me shower? At that age, I didn't like showers as it was. I was like, you try to make me shower in the morning and at night. Like, you're doing too much. Doing too much. Why? For them, that was common sense. For me, that wasn't common sense. Some people have family dinners, right? That's common sense. You gotta sit around the table, have family dinners, and then you talk to each other. And then, that for me, that was TV. I never had family dinners. That was stuff that was on TV. People didn't do that for real.
Well,
So that's what I'm saying. When you got these kids that go off to school and go off to learn this nonsense, and their whole, like, when you get into this whole, we'll just call it wokeism for now, because I understand it. I can speak the language fluently, right? Once you get into that paradigm, like your brain is like the way you see things is colored in a very different color altogether. So you argue with literally, you get to that point where you're arguing with somebody that the wall is white, and they're over there saying, "No, the wall is green," and that means you can't start the conversation there. Conversation got to start somewhere else before you can convince the that wall of white. That's a white wall. Yeah. So common sense, I get it. I get what people are trying to say, but the only thing that trumps common sense is ignorance, and a lot of people are ignorant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But and like you said, it makes sense because what's normal for you ain't gonna be normal for somebody else.
Yeah.
Those type of comparisons are a little different than biology.
Yeah.
Because when you're trying to argue somebody down to tell them, okay, because I feel like a man on Tuesday, like a man on Tuesday, I'm gonna wake up on Wednesday. Back up because I'm. You can do it, but yeah, but that's the part of it where I say those particular debates were the most entertaining because you got people trying to say that what you feel trumps what biology actually tells you, and that's the dumbest thing. And
but see,
you just can't convince somebody who actually has some real sense.
Yeah.
When
you deal with these people, you can't start the conversation there with like, what is a woman? You got to go all the way back to two things: standpoint theory and social constructionism. Because everything, their whole entire paradigm is shaped and like those are the glasses they wear to see the world.
Right.
It's social constructionism and standpoint theory. And until you can correct those glasses, today I feel like I'm a woman. And so therefore, I'm gonna do what I feel like as that,
Well, the problem with that is they're gonna move from glasses to contact lenses, so you can't take the glasses off now. So
listen, you can't take nobody's glasses off. Remember that. Don't forget. Don't get it twisted. You can't take nobody. Forget contact lenses, glasses. Sometimes it's their damn eyeballs. You can't touch them. Okay? You cannot. All you can do is go back to that and then argue the point at that level. Because that's the foundation of what they build everything on. And that's what they don't like. I mean, anybody that's ever left a religion or a deep foundational philosophical structure, they have to go through that if they end up switching, right? I was pretty devout Christian, and I had to leave that, and I had to. There was a lot of reworking my entire foundation. Very uncomfortable, right? So when you do that to people, you got to have a certain level of grace. I remember I had a philosophy teacher that says, "Listen, my mother," and he became an atheist. He grew up Muslim, he became an atheist, and he said, "My mother, she has a very, very simple religion, and whenever I deal with my mother, I deal in that paradigm with her, because anything outside of it, if I start, remember, he's a philosophy teacher, so he knows how to dip in and out of certain paradigms and thoughts. He can go from Taoism to Buddhism to Islam to Christianity, and be able to work within those paradigms. But when he's dealing with his mom, he stays in that one Islamic paradigm, and because she can't switch out of it.
Well, Like I said,
I'm here. I'm just keeping my camera and my mic off because everybody's kind of breaking up.
Oh, okay. Well, you see, Maurice and I have our uniforms on for the podcast, so I don't know if you have received your uniform and stuff like that. So I just,
if not, you better go change. I mean, we sent you the group text.
so, but
Don't start with me. Look, do not start with me.
Oh man, you got the message right there, Drake. You got the group text.
Yeah, it's right here. It's on my screen. It's right there. I don't even know why I see this.
I'm telling you, man. Just don't never listen. Don't never listen. That's right.
Don't
Double
make me
negative.
think.
I had the double negative. Don't never listen.
It was a chicken hawk.
Cowboys suck.
So that's the go-to. So that's
That's
the
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
I'm telling you, that's women's favorite weapon. Yo, find something that you care about and stomp all over it.
Cowboys
She gets
suck.
no more secrets. She gets no more secrets.
Yeah. What do you like? Oh, really? That's wonderful. Really? You love this too? Oh, that's great. Tell me more, Delilah. That's Delilah. Uh-huh. Yeah, sleep here on my lap. No worries, you can sleep.
No, but just to go back to what we're talking about. I guess, like I said, the biggest thing that we can really take out of this is to realize that we have the freedom to say what we want to say, but we don't have the freedom of the consequences of what you say. Like if you or Dedrick were to come and call me the B word in front of my husband, I can guarantee you're going to be chewing on some teeth. So you can say it. You can say it all you want. But if you chewing on teeth after that statement, that's what it is,
Yeah,
So
see, that's where you gotta be careful with it, because you can say the same thing about Charlie Kirk, right? Charlie Kirk should have been watching what he was saying.
no, I agree, but I agree with that. But he knew the consequences of
it's
what
dangerous.
he was doing.
Yeah, he understands. I mean, he always
He knew that it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't. He wasn't under the premise that he was protected by freedom of speech. He knew that he was in, possible danger from speaking the truth. No different than Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, or anybody else that's come up and spoke about things that were an issue when it comes to whether it's politics, religion, whatever it may be. When you start speaking truth, people are going to hate you. And at the end of the day, there are consequences to that. So I don't think that he woke up every morning blindly thinking that he had this umbrella of protection of freedom of speech. I think that he woke up every day saying, I'm just going to go say what I say because that's what I feel.
But there's one thing about free speech, the danger of free speech that people don't actually like talking about. Like, if you actually want to preserve free speech, obviously they have these guidelines of obviously violence, incitement of violence, right? These are kind of the things that the government's going to step in and actually stop you, or give you a certain consequence for stopping that. But there's one aspect of free speech that people don't like talking about, which is the advocacy to shut down free speech, right? Technically, you're within free speech. But if you're actively working and spreading the message to shut down free speech, same thing too, spreading the message, spreading messages that's anti-American, right? Which is, broad term, broad umbrella, but like an anti-constitutional message that goes against the actual system that allows you to speak is a natural kind of built-in danger inside of free speech.
Well, on what you said, you remember? Well, Maurice, I don't know how far your history lessons went in relation to Black people and their ability to speak, but I'm going to preface it at when soldiers came back and stuff like that, and they were marching and they were doing this, and they came home. They didn't come home to a parade. They
Mm-hmm.
came home to being lynched. They came home to being falsely imprisoned. They came home to just straight up being killed. Um, it stifled their freedom of speech, even though they went to war for the very reason we have freedom of speech. They went to war just like their white counterparts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I was saying. When it depends, within that time frame, you didn't have freedom of speech, but so much, especially if you were Black. You didn't have freedom of speech. Then what was that? Even though they were soldiers in the same war, these other people were. They didn't come home with the same liberties, civil liberties that everybody else had. So as we evolve into this social media construct, we have to make sure understand the consequences surrounding what we say. Now, yeah, you can say whatever you want to say, but like for instance, when you see um, these Karens saying all this stuff, and all of a sudden you hear that they lost their job. Well, yeah, you don't lose your job because, like you said before, Maurice, these jobs are not trying to
You
replace
got you
the.
got you got to stop those birds because I can't hear a thing they're saying.
Yeah, so with these jobs don't want to be associated with you being racist. These
Mm-hmm.
jobs don't want to be associated with you making these false claims, or all of a sudden your son has a backpack full of assault rifles and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden it goes back to you and your family, and then all of a sudden, so everything has its own consequences. You can't sit there and think that you can just say whatever you want to say. Let's go down a rabbit hole a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica will confirm this, but you have people who have come up with cures for certain things. They've
Mm-hmm.
come up with ways to not use fossil fuels for automobiles, and they
Mm-hmm.
come up the electric cells that they built out of natural things people have around the house. They come up missing.
Mm-hmm.
You got people who have blown the whistle on corrupt governments or corrupt officials or government systems, and they're no longer here. So those things come with certain amounts of consequences because what you're doing is you're getting too close to taking profits out of their pocket. And if people start listening to you, like when Michael Jackson was talking about Sony and the Beatles catalog and all this other stuff like that, he started talking real stuff. Do you not understand? Michael Jackson is known by tribes in Africa,
Mm-hmm.
so everybody's going to listen to Michael. Michael has influence all over the world. So when he starts listening, when he starts talking, people start listening. And of course, the powers that be can't have that. This little black kid has too much power.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get rid of him. So there's a lot of consequences that come with speech. So you always have to read the room and figure out what you can trailblaze and what you can't.
I'm not sure how that ties into what I was saying, but nonetheless, we'll keep going with what you're saying.
No,
Uh,
I know it's totally different from what you were talking about.
oh, okay. Yeah. What you just said actually reminds me of like Andrew Tate, right?
Hmm.
Right. Like hate him or like him, doesn't matter. But clearly, I don't know the rules out in Romania, but clearly, he's being accused of all this stuff, and they can't make anything stick. They can't find evidence. They can't find nothing on this dude. And the reality is, he's doing stuff that they don't like. And when you're doing stuff that people don't like, these people come for you and they make you disappear. They do whatever they can to make you disappear. That's why people got to get up here, especially if you know you're in danger and you got to say something. They get up in here and say, "Listen, I have no desire to ever off myself or delete myself. I'm not depressed. I'm not on any drugs." They have to go through the gauntlet of how they make people get disappeared, so that they don't end up that way. Yeah, it's crazy out here. It's crazy for those that can garner the eyes and the attention of a mass population of people.
Well, when you have influence, a certain amount of influence, that's easy to do because you've proven through everything that you've shown the world that you're living the life that you talk about, that you believe in the things that you say you believe in. Because if you're not consistent, guess what? Nobody's going to pay attention to you. If you don't have a good amount of influence, nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody.
That's facts.
So you have to seriously be consistent in what you say. Because if what I'm sorry, that
no, I mean, ideally, but you already know this. The the criteria you're talking about is a very logical criteria. But people listen to people based off emotion.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not really a logical process, right? I don't know. Let's go straight for the juggernaut. Hitler. How do you think that Hitler amassed that following? I love to say that Hitler was a genius. Like, if you discredit his genius and his prowess in being able to persuade, like, if you can get a bunch of people to do some nonsense like that, like that's a skill set, and we got to watch out for that skill set, because any skill set is power. Power is that thing you can use it to power a nation, give them electricity for free, or you can use it to blow up the world. That's power. And you can't take that. You can't ignore that in people. No matter whether they're doing something good or doing something bad, you got to be like, all right, you got to respect that power. There's a thin line between respect and fear, right? You see a lion out in the woods. Do you fear that lion, or do you respect that lion? The damage it's going to cause,
Sorry, I'm being the chicken mom right now.
Chicken lady over here. This one over here eating. But,
What'd you say?
no, don't worry about it.
No, I was just saying I had to be a chicken mom for a minute. These damn chickens won't shut up. So I'm trying to get them quiet so y'all can actually hear me. And this keeps them quiet.
Yeah, let her know. Let her know. Let her know. She don't want to hear it though.
No, she don't want to see it. She don't want to see it.
She said that's too much free speech. That's what she said. She said, "Shut your ass up." But I didn't say. Shut your ass up.
But those types of things, people don't understand that depending on who you are, you have influence over people. Now, and now on one hand, you might say, well, words shouldn't bring forth that kind of violence. Okay, we're talking about what shouldn't happen. But in the real world, we know that words have influence. Like, for instance, there was I forgot what the person's name was, but this has happened across the world. Really, is a powerful person can be talking, and they say, "Well, I would like this to happen to this person. It'd be crazy if such and such happened." And this person who idolizes that person, well, you know what? I'm gonna go and do this for that person because I will win favor with that person. They go and do the thing to earn favor with that influential person. People justify doing that because in their head, it's logical. If I do this for him, he'll look at me like, hey, you can be my right hand, or you can be in my circle, you can be in my space. And people are like that. People think that that's if they do this, that's what's going to happen. Just like when Donald Trump in his first election, you have to understand. I live in the Washington D.C. area. I live in the Washington D.C. area, and at the time, I was working at the airport, and on the way getting ready to go home, there was these two white couples, and now they're standing there. And keep in mind, this is around inauguration time. So everybody was flying in from all over the country to be at this inauguration. So they're sitting here. I'm sitting down on the subway car. They're standing up, holding on to the pole or whatever.
Is this
And
24 or 16?
this was the first one.
16.
This was 16. And they were saying something because at first I wasn't paying attention to them. So they're just other people on the car. And then what began to happen was I noticed that the guy would repeat himself and say it a little bit louder and then look in my direction as he said what he said. And I looked up at him after I realized it because he then looked at his other male friend and then they would start talking or whatever, acting like he ain't saying nothing. Then he'll say something one more time. And I stood up. I said, don't let this orange dude get your butt whooped. I said, I don't know where you think you are, but you're really, really far from home. If you want to return home in the condition you left home in, I advise you to watch what you say here in the district. Because Mr. Orange is not going to save you. I promise you that.
Oh, no, he'll abandon you.
So the ladies, they sitting there clutching imaginary pearls and stuff like that. And I'm just like, you got the game messed up. Just because he said whatever it was he said that made people think that he was gonna have their back or whatever the case is. First of all, he don't know you. So here you come from Kansas or wherever the devil you came from, talking reckless. Dude, you don't know nobody here. This is not what you want to do here. So if you think you're going to come into Washington, D.C. and run your mouth like you're running now because you thought you saw a lone black man sitting on the chair, like he's defenseless or something like that, I might be short, but I promise you, you're going to feel it. Like it's like people think that they can just say whatever they want to say without consequence. I'm sorry, you say what you got to say to the wrong person, you're going to have plenty of consequences really quick.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will get themselves in trouble because they think that they're going to win favor of somebody else of influence or whatever the case is. Like, dude, like you need to choose your battles well because that's not.
I was gonna say this all comes back to education, and I'm a firm believer that parents are the number one people that are responsible for educating their children.
Mm-hmm.
But there needs to be, I don't want to preach for Common Core education because that just was a disaster. But there needs to be some. What was it? Civics. They don't teach kids civics at all.
No, they don't
right?
Kids. Yeah.
It's crazy. They don't actually teach you like the common decencies of living in the public and how the laws work in your area. That's just wild. Just basic civics and how to deal with people and what's expected of you because you live here. Like I'm all for individualism, but we didn't get here by ourselves. And then after you're done gone, you're gonna be giving it to somebody else. I don't care what it is or how it works. So whatever whatever you got to get your start up, you owe something for that. America living, you got electricity, you got internet, you got TV, you got radio, you got music on demand. I've never been in a state where I get music the way I get music now. I just I hear a song, look it up, now it's on my playlist. Like we in this world of abundance, right? And you did nothing to get it all and get access to it. Absolutely nothing. That happened because of all the people that came before you. So you can't come into this world. I know you're born and you kind of slammed into the world. I get it. But you have to also recognize that this will just be popping up, scaring people. Don't scare people like that. You can't just be popping. Man, you gotta be when you come to this world, there's a certain level of education that you got to be open to receiving so that you can interact with the world. You have to. What's going on, Billy?
What's going on?
What's going on?
Y'all good?
You went to go take care of them chickens. The chickens were loud.
Yeah,
Well, why, my brother?
Chickens everywhere. What y'all got going on?
Now we over here talking about free speech.
Oh, free speech? Okay.
Free speech.
Yep.
I mean, free speech is, hey, we see how free speech going right now.
Yeah. That's why we're talking about it.
Look, if you dish it, you better be able to take it.
But it's the problem. You got certain people. You've been with those people that are on the court. Everybody knows the rules for basketball. But there's certain people that they want to try you on the court.
Right.
Like they don't know the rules. You know what I'm saying? And some people out here, they can dish it, but they can't take it.
They can't take it, right?
Can't take it.
It's crazy, but hey, if you dish it, you got to be able to take it.
But so here's my example. Like, let's say you're playing Monopoly, or no checkers. People do it in checkers. Like, you in checkers, you're about to lose, and then the guy's about to lose, and they toss the board. Right? You got these people that like to toss the board, and like, how long you gonna allow this person to keep tossing the board every time you play them before you just stop playing with them altogether? I'm just saying, right? Because free speech is a game that we both gotta know the rules to, right? But if people keep tossing the board every single time they're about to lose in this game, how long are you gonna keep playing with them? That's why I said it's the hidden problem in free speech that people don't want to look at.
Well, my thing is that with anything that's being said, with some people, like I had spoke about before, and you weren't on, but freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence. You know what I'm saying? Because I often say, when we're in our men's forums and stuff like that, and when the subject of women come up, for instance, I often tell men, don't let a woman tell you twice she doesn't want you. Don't let a woman continue to disrespect you. That woman has to know that there's consequences that come with disrespecting that man. Now, if you allow her to continue to disrespect you, then that's the behavior you can expect moving forward. Same thing with women. If you allow that man to lie to you, if you allow that man to disrespect you, if you allow that man to hit you without there being any consequences whatsoever, it will continue. Number one. Number two, his behavior will never change. And number three, you can't complain about nothing no more because you made a decision to stay. So your freedom of speech has a lot of different implications. You can talk all you want about or complain all you want, but if you don't give people in your life consequences, then you can't sit around complaining about the results that you get. You can't.
Oh,
So somebody, your actions should be the consequences of somebody disrespecting you.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. But we've been agreeing a little bit too much, so I'm gonna stir the pot a little bit. I'm practicing my free speech. You know what I'm saying? I'm practicing my free speech.
Well, you can't disagree right now because all of us are bald. So
No,
we can't.
I got hair. Look at it. I got hair. Boom, boom. Don't group me in. Do not do that. All right.
Anytime somebody got to actually help you find the hair, it don't count.
Oh man, but no,
But
it's definitely though. Is I mean, just since all this stuff is happening in the world, it's like I said, people just got to be ready when they say stuff. They got to be able to deal with what comes with it. Because once you say it, you can't take it back.
Nope.
I mean, but you act like people need a reason to act out of character. You know, sometimes like you just try to go about your day, and people go act out of character, right? So we don't need a reason to. So I mean, okay, my disagreement with the whole consequence thing, right? Um, so imagine, shoot, let me get this right. You got okay. So you said consequences. Let me get it together. Let me get it together. I'll be back.
It's real terrible when you got to try to make up something just to disagree. That's crazy.
No, it's
But
not that. I got to piece it together. That's all. So it falls right. That's all. It just got to fall right. When it falls right, it's gonna be good.
yeah, but within this particular social climate, and this has been this way
Oh,
for
I got it. My bad. I got it.
okay.
All right. So check it. Like, all right. Look at the how gang violence kind of starts up and escalates. Right? Usually, it starts off with people saying words, right? And then those words, the speech, has consequences, right? What you say about so and so, about this place, about that place, right? Then that usually elevates the violence, right? Then that you can't just have violence and have that not merit a response of equal or more violence, correct? So you get this stepladder effect of increasing the amount of violence, increasing the amount of bodies, revenge after revenge. I'm gonna get them because you got my homie mentality. Because the concept of you can't allow things not to have a consequence when people say or do something. Now, that's again, this is the devil. Like, I agree with you what you said about originally, but I can see the other side of this. When people talk about let's turn down the temperature, because the other way it gets worse and it gets bad. People would comparing the Democrats and Republicans like the Bloods and the Crips, right? Red and blue, they're both going at it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, but you got to remember, some people don't know how to pick and choose their battles. Some people are foolish. So some people just 0 to 100.
So,
They do dumb stuff and they don't think.
but I mean, this kind of goes back to my whole like, yo, we playing this game, right? But if you got people playing the game that love tossing the board, how long are you going to continue to play with them? Before you're like, all right, bet. We're not playing any games no more. We're serious now. But yes, this is this is that conflict resolution 101 right here.
I mean, hey, look, that's why I say people have to pick. You really have to pick and choose your battles. Like for me, for one, I'm not going to even argue with somebody I don't even care about. Really, because your opinion doesn't even count. I don't even care about you, so I'm not going to argue with you. Because at the end of the day, I probably won't change your mind because I don't respect you, and you don't respect me. Right. So I'm not going to sit there and argue with you. But people do that. They waste their breath with people they don't even know. They sit there and argue with them. For what? People do it all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what? Just walk away. Yep. But, people like to have the last word. Yeah. A lot of people like to have the last word. And that's when it goes sideways. That's when it goes sideways.
Yeah. But you're talking about on a one-to-one scenario, right? One person versus one person. Right? For the most part, you have that option of walking away or other people getting involved with playing mediator, right? But when you get to a certain level, right, the smaller, higher level is like gang violence, right? How do you stop that once it gets to that level? Now, let's get it to the political realm where we're talking about, two halves of the country, right?
It's hard to stop that.
And then the next level is, civil war, right? We're talking straight civil war, full-blown war. And the reality is, now I know when it comes to that civil war aspect, one needs to completely and absolutely dominate before we can talk about reestablishing a new game. That's the only way I know. Right. It gets corrected.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the issue. Once they get too deep in, they don't want to turn back. They just keep surging forward, and that's when you get this dumb stuff that happens. So and they feel like they can't turn around because they don't want to look soft, so they keep going, and that's how things go.
It's not just looking soft. It is soft. Like, you just want to keep letting somebody do the same thing to you over and over again without a response because you try to turn down the temperature?
Right. There you go.
That's a dangerous position to be in.
Right, exactly. And that's why they keep surging forward. Be it right or wrong, they surge forward.
So how do you keep this bike from pedaling forward, right? Because the left foot goes up, the right foot don't like that, so they come up. So the right foot don't like that, so the left foot. This bike keep coming, and you had to straight
they take a stance, they stick with it, and they go, and that's what they do, and that's why it's tough. Right. And that's why it's tough. And that's why it's hard. Some things are going to be hard to fix, and if you fix it, everybody has to be on the same page, and that's never going to happen.
So that's why I said I think we got to get to the point where we got to talk about what are acceptable consequences to use that's not going to push the bike forward. Right? That's the conversation that needs to be happening. What's an acceptable? Because you need to have a consequence, right? We talked about that. There needs to be a consequence.
That falls on your leader.
What is the acceptable consequences that won't put you in a position where you have to capitulate your position, right? You won't have to give up your position, right? Because you can't give that up, or else they're just going to pull you over, right? You're going to walk all over you, right? But in the same sense, you're not going to push them forward.
Well, you know what? And there you go. You just said a mouthful. You push them forward, but then you always got that nutcase that doesn't know when to stop.
Well, yeah. So I mean, you got to get to a certain point where it's got to be a reality to be able to check your own stuff. Right? You got to start
you said to check them.
You got to start
Well, you know what the government does. You know what the government does when they want to check somebody.
Man, I'll never forget that time during the 2020 riots and stuff that was going on, BLM stuff. There was finding pallets of bricks where there was on a protest. Pallets of bricks in the areas, and it just magically end up there. Just random pallets of bricks.
Yeah, you know, there you go. So like I said, you know what the government does when they want to shut somebody up. What do?
You know,
something crazy happens to them. They get knocked off. Abracadabra. There you go. So, and that's what happens. They go to the extreme, and people know it, you know, and that's just what it is. So,
but that's the thing. Now they gatekeep a whole lot of stuff, and because of the age of information, they have special departments to give you reasonable doubt. Like you can be looking at actual footage of something, and they have a department over here that gives you reasonable doubt that might also be CGI, right? So you got people. I mean, so when it comes to freedom of speech, it's only what they are comfortable with allowing you to have freedom to say. You know what I'm saying? So that's just like I'll go to William in his craft. You have people who have violated the freedom of speech by introducing, like I think you've already seen that video of the teacher who had the rainbow flag in the classroom, and the black lady came in and told her, she snatched the flag down, like, "What are you doing? You need to be teaching actual curriculum in the school, not what your personal lifestyle is and all this other stuff about what your opinion is about what you think they should know." Number one, I'm teaching my child a certain way. You don't have the right to come in and then say this to my child or these children. You don't get to do that. So you have those very thin lines, because technically in the schools, they're supposed to be learning their curriculum. What you do in your private life has nothing to do with them and being schooled. So why are you bringing that into the school curriculum or into the school classroom and trying to influence these children? So to see, now you're going above and beyond. Now you're violating what freedom of speech is supposed to actually be. Now you're inputting your personal stuff into what is supposed to be school appropriate, curriculum appropriate information.
See, it's not a violation of freedom of speech. They're correctly using their freedom of speech. The problem is they're using it with minors. Right? Minors don't have rights on their own. Their rights come to their parents. So if you access from the minor without accessing his parents, then you could say that something up with it. Right? This is where we enter into the grooming category of things, which is against the law. Shouldn't be grooming kids. Period. Right? But I mean, they're actually just doing it with the wrong population. You frozen over there? Everybody down? Am I frozen?
No, I can hear you.
Oh.
It is a really bad connection, though. Like, that's why I keep turning my camera and my mic off. I think he's doing it off his phone and not his computer. I think that's why it's as slotchy as it is today.
Usually when he hops on his phone, better.
Huh?
Usually it's his laptop that we get on the problems, but usually his phone is better. There you go. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I swear, boy, these connections, man, they be messing with me.
I'm telling you, man, they're coming after you. You're talking too much.
Right.
But I don't know how much you heard. But I was saying how, like, that, all these teachers, they're using free speech approaches. They're just doing it for the wrong. These are my kids. When they're adults, you can have that fun. But as long as they're kids, they're attached to parents. Nothing gets to that kid without going through the parents first. And that's got to be safer. It's got to be safer.
Yeah, I just feel that in this day and age, people go too far with something, and it um, it cheapens um, a lot of stuff when it comes to. Hold on. Okay, there we go. It really cheapens what we are supposed to be. Uh,
That goal is supposed to be.
well, you know what? Like you said, when it comes to freedom of speech, like I was talking about the classroom thing, the violation was the setting.
Yeah. It's a protected setting.
I don't have a problem with her expressing herself and her lifestyle outside of that setting because you're abusing the setting. You're abusing the freedom of speech thing. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, well, I'm just, representing what I." Don't nobody told you to bring that into the classroom. The school system wasn't there for you to do that. The kids, if that school classroom is for geography, why is there sexual orientation on the board? If that's a geography class that has no place in that geography class, period. Why is that the distraction that's in that geography class? Why?
I mean,
That's not.
I can give you the argument. I know the argument pretty well. But I don't know if you want to entertain you.
I didn't hear you. What you say?
I know the argument really well. Push back against the lie.
Well, no. Well, see, those are rhetorical questions.
That's why I asked. That's why.
Yeah. So and see that's the thing. When those types of things are being abused and they're being misused and stuff like that, that's when things get complicated. That's when things get really messy because now you're saying, well, I have the right to say this, that, and the third, or express myself under the amendments and this, that, and the third. But you're not understanding that you need to read the room. These are children. Why are you putting your adult business in classrooms with children?
On top of that, these are the same people that tell you grades are bad.
Well, I remember a time I didn't even know my teachers was married or how many kids they had or nothing. I just knew it was Mrs. Such and Such, Mr. Such and Such.
We didn't know their first names.
Uh-huh.
We didn't know their first names.
Yeah, I didn't know their personal. I mean, not in that extent. You might know, okay, he's married or she's married, and maybe they have kids, but they didn't really discuss their private lives with us as children. They just was there to teach, and now
They're focused.
something
They had
different.
they had a job to do, they did a good job, and then moved on with their life. Now, see, that's the issue. Specifically, this crew, the Alphabet crew, they disconnected from all the other contacts, right? So they disconnect, they kind of reformulate the whole new family, the whole alphabet. And this new family is a sterile family. They can't make change.
Like I know, and Billy probably could have told y'all better, but I know for a fact, like he doesn't have pictures of us on the desk, and his private life is his private life, even as a heterosexual. Now, do they know he has kids? Obviously, because they talk to him. Shush. Um, but it's not something that he goes out of his way to express. He's there to teach. He's there to do a job. Now, if they ask him, hey, so Mr. Fields, are you married? Yes, I'm married. Or, do you have children? Yes, I have. I have 3 children. I have a
Keep it
wife.
surface level.
Huh?
Yeah, keep it surface level.
Yeah.
They don't need all the details. But my point was, it's because the people from this alphabet group, they don't have very extensive, deep connections like family, because a lot of them separate from their families. They disown their family. They walk away from all that stuff. And because they separate, walk away from all that stuff, and their community for the most part is sterile, they can't have kids. So they're trying to recreate family. By trying to recreate family, they've got to adopt children, and that's how. I fully believe it's not completely 100%, but I do believe that to grow and build something is intentional. But it's tradition. It's very, very tradition.
Yeah. So I don't know. Okay, let me return maybe. Okay, so let me go ahead and do some station identification, and then we'll cruise into the last part of a few minutes of the show. So transitioning, I just want to give a shout out to Meet the World Image Solutions, whose founder, Dr. Rodney M. Lawson, is a literary powerhouse. If you guys are an upcoming author, if you're a new author, if you're trying to get your work out, if you're trying to get your book edited, um, this is a one-stop shop where you can come to get your literary works taken care of and started, or get your vision realized. So once again, it's Meet the World Image Solutions, and you can find her at www.mtw, that stands for Meet the World Image Solutions. That's MTW Image Solutions.com. Go and check out the merch, check out all that stuff. We're in the fall season. Guys, go in there and order your mugs, your gift wrapping. Go order everything that you need to get for your season and make your gift wrap something that is unique for this Christmas holiday and whatnot. And also your mugs and your shirts and different things like that. So go in there and do that. Also coming up in February, it's going to be her 10th anniversary. Um, uh, oh my God, I'm blank. But anyway, she's having her 10th anniversary Black History Month literary weekend in New Orleans, and it's going to be the week after Mardi Gras. The week before, yeah, week after Mardi Gras. So guys, make sure you guys get your tickets. Meet us down there in New Orleans if you want to, because we're gonna be there celebrating her 10th anniversary to her Black History Month literary weekend, guys. You're not gonna want to miss this, because this is going to be epic. I promise you. All right. And also by Mr. Crave's Cookies, my personal baby. I'm about to say meet the world. Let me do this again. Um, Mr. Crave's Cookies. Wait, that's a party in your mouth. Guys, go and check him out. Check me out and on Instagram at Mr. Crave's Cookies. That's MrCraveS. Cookies. All right. And also check me out on TikTok. Because sometimes y'all be on the TikToks. Um, and you can find me there at the Mr. Craves. All right. The Mr. Craves. THE Mr. Craves. All right. And also we got on the stage, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Maurice here with his music, guys. Check him out. He's going to tell you all about how you can find and listen to his music. You got it.
Yeah, come check me out on my YouTube channel. Studio Music. Lowercase S, lowercase s, lowercase I. Studio Music. Look me up on YouTube. Check out my tracks. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what y'all think.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. So, and once again, you guys, thank you so much for checking us out. I know we started a little interesting, a little weird, because I was in the car a few times, but I'm glad you guys are here to make it stuff like that, man. We're gonna be having special guests coming up for the fall and stuff like that. We're gonna be having some really good conversations coming up and whatnot. And hopefully you guys can be interactive a little bit and talk to us a little bit, ask some questions for the panel and stuff like that, guys. So once again, thank you. We're talking about freedom of speech here today. So yeah, I think y'all know get a gist of what we were all talking about. And like we said several times, you have to really think about the things that you say. We don't mean tiptoe around everything that you got to say, because some things just need to be said. We're not talking about that kind of thing. We're talking about the fact that you have to have some kind of awareness about the consequences that come from the things that you say and the content that you're bringing forth. Um, all things ain't for every ear. As we made the example of the teacher bringing inappropriate subject matter into the classroom when the classroom doesn't have anything to do with that subject matter. You have to be very, very, very careful about the things that you present and where you present it. Freedom of speech isn't my biggest issue. My biggest issue is when you decide to present what you think you want to present in the wrong atmosphere. That's where a lot of the problems happen, in my opinion. So you just got to be careful when it comes to those type of things. Some things do need to be said because some things have been hidden far too long, and some things just need to be said. But you have to also understand that some of those environments that you feel like you're grown enough to talk in, you're talking out of place because that's not the environment you need to be speaking in and whatnot. So, all right, Maurice, Tad, you it.
I mean, free speech is dangerous. That's why, since the beginning of time, people are sure what Trump was saying all the time. Now that we live in a time, the period where free speech is protected to some degree, it's up to everyday people to make sure that they use it responsibly and don't abuse it. They can do it. There's got to be a plan in action on how we're going to push back on that so much that they continue to abuse it, or they're more persuaded to keep from abusing it. But it's dangerous. It's got a hit. As we've seen in the past couple of days, I mean, it's nothing new in America. Assassination. Free speech is got a hit. So, I mean, I'm only going to encourage people to keep talking, having conversations. Check the sensitivities. Maybe you have a place to grow. Your thoughts. That ain't your own. And be all right. Be all right with it. Be all right. You don't have to like it. You gotta get thoughts. They're not your own. You gotta understand how people think. You gotta understand. You gotta think. You can't just swallow it up. You hear something, you see something, and all of a sudden that's God's. You gotta still explain it. You gotta dig into it. This world is made us all very, very, very. You don't want to think, you want to search, you want to research. But this is I learned this in school. I don't know what's going on with it. don't suppose everybody else will have to do some basic level research, you know. You don't just swallow things for the first time. People can, you got free speech, it's whatever the hell they want. That includes lies. That includes ugly, nasty stuff. Like that's the world we live in. It's because it's in the ugly and the nasty stuff is a lot of potential for the negative, thinking that's going to make things better. You have to dig the dirt to get the gold. It's the only way to do it. But that's that.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, so. But we deal with issues when it comes to freedom of speech every day. But now more so than ever because of certain people's freedoms, that liberties that they take and whatnot, and they keep pushing the envelope, and stuff like that. So it's a bit crazy. So yeah, but anyway, but yeah. So that's pretty much all I got when it comes to. It's because it's so, like I said, there's so many layers to peel back, but uh, it's one of those situations to where you have to read the room a lot, because certain freedoms, I think people hijack them and take them for a ride, and it ends up a mess. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna go ahead and pull the curtain tonight. So thank you guys so much for coming in on behalf of Jessica. She had to leave. On behalf of Jessica, thank you guys again, and whatnot. Thank you for coming through for Soul Flow Conversation. And this is your host, Dedrick the Cookie Man. And that's over there. He over there is Maurice. Thank you for coming to the stage, brother. We always enjoy your presence, man. You have a great, great, great night. Thank y'all.
That was rough, bro.